The men running the world's largest artificial intelligence companies have a very strange habit. They will sit down in front of a Senate committee, swear an oath, and tell the government that the technology they are building might actually destroy us, and they are remarkably specific about the odds. The chief executive of Anthropic has stated publicly, multiple times, that the chance of a catastrophic outcome from advanced AI sits somewhere between 10 and 25%. This stems from the attempt to build machines as clever as humans. The honest engineers admit these systems are black boxes, structures so complex that we cannot reliably predict their behavior or understand their logic line by line. Researchers call this the gorilla problem. Millions of years ago, ancestors of gorillas and humans split. We grew much smarter, and today, gorillas survive entirely at our convenience. By engineering an entity vastly more capable than ourselves, we're voluntarily applying for the gorilla's job. These public warnings constitute a formal confession. The builders are knowingly engineering an existential threat that they cannot control. Imagine an aircraft manufacturer holding a press conference to tell you their brand new model has a 1 in 5 chance of crashing, and then demanding fewer safety inspections in the same breath. That is the trick sitting at the center of the AI industry's public relations strategy. They loudly broadcast the apocalyptic dangers of their own product to position themselves as the sole authorities. Then they deploy massive lobbying operations to block anyone trying to write a regulatory rulebook. It is an old instinct worth keeping close. Be very wary of the man who warns you about the fire while aggressively dismantling the smoke alarm. The industry uses the word cloud because it sounds clean and weightless. But look at this hardware. AI is heavy industry. Training large models requires vast warehouses of physical infrastructure that devour local electricity and water. The supply chain for that hardware begins in places like the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The endless appetite for cobalt drives massive mining operations built entirely on the backs of human laborers working in brutal conditions. Then the physical footprint arrives in our neighborhoods. In Memphis, Elon Musk's xAI built a massive supercomputer powered by unpermitted gas turbines. These trailer-mounted power stations pump smog-forming pollution into a predominantly black community that already carries a heavy burden of asthma. They built a power plant without asking first. This chart shows the financial extraction happening in places like Louisiana. A planned metadata center requires immense new energy capacity. The utility company is fast-tracking a fleet of new gas stations to power it, but the multi-billion-dollar cost of that infrastructure bypasses the trillion-dollar corporation. Instead, the cost lands on everyday households. The utility simply passes the expense of building power plants for tech giants directly onto your utility bill. The profits are strictly private. The environmental wreckage and the massive infrastructure bills are forced onto an unconsenting public. To keep this massive cost shifting perfectly legal, the industry has flooded lawmakers with cash. Washington has become the arena where AI companies simply buy the rulebook. In the United States, a network of super PACs entered 2026 with over $70 million in the bank, backed by tech executives and venture capitalists. This money serves a single purpose. It threatens to bury politicians who push for safety rules or corporate liability in an avalanche of attack ads. When the money isn't enough, lobbyists pull out their favorite excuse: China. They weaponize national security, convincing lawmakers that domestic safety rules amount to surrendering the future to authoritarian rivals. It works remarkably well. Federal lawmakers recently pushed a 269-page bill designed to freeze state-level AI safety laws for 3 years, actively shutting down local governments trying to protect their own citizens. The rollback is happening globally. In Brussels, negotiators for the European Union's landmark AI Act successfully delayed and watered down the central compliance deadlines before they properly took hold. Over in the UK, London quietly dropped its promised safety law entirely. They replaced it with a growth-first agenda, creating regulatory sandboxes that allow companies to test AI systems on the public while the rules are switched off around them. Global governments have undergone a strange inversion. They now treat these firms as fragile national assets that must be protected and subsidized at the public's expense. The men building these models promise us a utopian age of abundance. Yet some architects are quietly buying land in remote corners of the world, constructing fortified bolt holes to escape the consequences of what they are releasing. Privately booking the lifeboats tells you a lot about the ship. It proves that the architects of AI do not actually believe their own safety brochures. The industry frames AI as an unstoppable weather front. This manufactured inevitability creates public apathy, making resistance feel like a waste of an evening. This narrative of inevitability is a deliberate lie. It ensures that nobody has to answer for the concrete damage being done right now. The machine is not unstoppable. Everyday people are looking at the disruption and proving that it can be fought. In Memphis, campaigners took XAI straight to federal court over its pollution. In Louisiana, advocates are fighting to keep corporate costs off family electricity bills. And digital artists are deploying software tools that poison their own images, stripping the mystique off the taking. We already possess mundane, highly effective tools to control this. We can enforce environmental permits, break up monopolies with antitrust laws, and refuse to let corporations pass expenses to taxpayers. The development of AI is driven by specific legal and political choices. We are living through the decisions of men who have told us, to our faces, that their machine might kill us. We have the power to stop them, but only if we stop believing we can't.